UFC International Fight Week 317 is supposed to be one of the biggest events of the year for the UFC, and as of right now, at the time of recording this video, the night before you're seeing it, we only have 4 fights on it. This has been a big topic of conversation within the MMA community because we just found out that Duplexi is injured, and everybody was hoping to see Duplexi versus Khamzat Shamayv. Today, we are going to be building the UFC 317 card in a more realistic fashion, but still trying to make the card the best that it could be. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, we're going to be breaking down the card. That's usually what I usually say in these videos. We're going to be going through the early prelims, 4 fights on the early prelims, 4 fights on the prelims, and then a 6-fight main card. I'm excited, guys. And again, I wanted to make this as realistic as possible, but still having that hype level of International Fight Week. Let's get started with the first early prelim fight. Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariskol. Pat Sabatini on an absolute roll right now. Chepe Mariskol, a little bit biased, one of my favorite fighters to watch right now, but this fight will be guaranteed fireworks, whether that's on the feet, whether that's on the ground. It is the perfect fight to open an International Fight Week card. We can't have ranked, we all watched what people like, I don't know if Lucas Tracy made one yet, but the MMA Guru definitely made one, and he was talking about like how we need to have ranked fights and pretty well the entire card like we used to get. That's possible, but I really doubt the UFC is going to do something like that, so we need to dive into the unranked category. Either way, this fight was shine. I would love to watch this fight. Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariskol. Let's continue on to the next early prelim. Charles Jordane returning against Peyton Talbot. We haven't seen Peyton Talbot in a while. Charles Jordane's always fun. Get that Canada representation a little bit. Charles Jordane always brings a little bit of excitement. No matter what, the fight is great, and I would love to see Charles Jordane again at 135 pounds. I believe Charles Jordane to be a very, very exciting and one of the most underappreciated fighters in the UFC. Peyton Talbot, while he lost a little bit of steam, kicking him back to the early prelims a little bit, I still would love to see him perform, and this would be a good test for him. So Charles Jordane versus Peyton Talbot is the next fight on the early prelims. Let's continue on to a fight that already is locked in, and the UFC specified that this is going to be on the prelims, so early prelims, keeping it on there. Denise versus Justin Taffa. I'm not too excited for this fight personally. The Taffa brothers have lost a ton of hype, but this is locked in. This is loaded for International Fight Week. This is one of the 4 fights that we did know about. Now, let's get into the featured early prelim. Strolling over to WMMA, guys. We have to have WMMA fights on the card. That's just what the UFC is going to do, and I actually like this fight, okay? I really like this fight. Carly Judas, Veronica Hardy. First of all, you have to get the attention of the MMA community, and what better way to do that than have somebody like Veronica Hardy on the card, and she's taking on Carly Judas. Carly Judas is a very, very exciting WMMA fighter. I legitimately get excited for her fight. So, you have the MMA community gathering around, talking about Veronica Hardy, making the TikTok edits, and you have the fight that absolutely will deliver with Carly Judas. This is a good fight. If we're strolling into the WMMA territory, I like this bout, and I would legitimately be excited for this. So Carly Judas versus Veronica Hardy will close out the fight past prelims. Let's continue on to the regular prelims, guys. Starting off with the fight that already, again, was locked in. Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. This is a banger. I love watching both guys fight. I am really, really invested in Daniel Zellhuber's journey in the UFC. He's coming off of an amazing fight. I'm excited to watch both these guys fight, man. Great fight, perfect for International Fight Week. Really nice on the start, and for both guys, getting the light shined on them, okay? And UFC also did specify that fight was going to be on the prelims. Let's continue on. Let's bring one of the fighting nerds in here. Mauricio Ruffy taking on Nasrat Haqparast. This has the potential to be a banger of a fight. It is a good matchup for Ruffy, and by good matchup, this would be a close fight, I think, but by good matchup for Ruffy, I mean, you could just let him kind of do his thing. He's fighting a striker. I'd be shocked if Nasrat Haqparast wanted to wrestle, although he definitely could. This could be a banger of a fight. Nasrat Haqparast is a clear step up in competition to what Mauricio Ruffy, or I'm sorry guys, I always forget if it's pronounced Ruffy or Ruffy. I always forget which one that is. But no matter what, this fight would be fireworks. Great way to start off the prelims. Let's continue on to circling back over to WMMA. Mackenzie Durn, Tatiana Suarez. Top contender fight, Mackenzie Durn on a win streak, Tatiana Suarez just losing against the title. Everybody will gather around, have fun watching a Mackenzie Durn fight. it just always captures the MMA community, man. It always does. So if we're circling back to international fight we'd having to go into WMMA territory, Mackenzie Durn is where you would like to lean towards. Let's continue on to the final prelim bout. I think it's a final prelim bout. A fight that was already scheduled to happen. Why not rebook it? Both guys are good to fight. Beneil Dariush, Renato Moicano. If you want people to get to the main card, if you want people who are watching the prelims to buy the pay-per-view, Renato Moicano's your guy. Is he going to win the fight? I would imagine so. I believe Beneil Dariush should be very, very well past his prime. I would hate to watch this fight because I'm a huge fan of both guys, okay? But both guys want to fight each other. This fight was already booked. I don't imagine they would have any issues signing it. Renato Moicano, if he wins, gets the microphone, starts yapping, this is your best opportunity to get some final pay-per-view buys for the people who weren't going to buy it. Plus, it'd be a great fight. I would love to see that. Let's continue on over to the main card. On the main card, this fight has already been announced, and it's a banger. Brandon Royval, Manel Kape. Top contender fight. Two very, very exciting fighters. The UFC did specify that this is going to be on the main card. This is going to be fireworks no matter what. No matter who wins, no matter what happens. Manel Kape's always great to watch, both in the octagon and on the microphone. Brandon Royval is a dog in there, man. Great fight by these two. I cannot wait to watch that one. Let's continue on to the final fight that the UFC confirmed is already happening. Paulo Costa, Roman Copilov on the main card. Again, great fight. Really, really great fight. Paulo Costa is always fun and will make great material for International Fight Week. Roman Copilov is typically a very, very exciting fighter as well, and it's a good test for him. I cannot wait to watch this fight. I think it's great. Although I don't necessarily trust Paulo Costa to show up, we might need a little bit of a backup opponent. Those two fights, and now we are getting into the rest of the main card. We have 3 more fights on the main card. I believe 3 more fights. Sorry, been losing track about what I'm talking about. I thought about actually throwing in a Colby Covington-Paddy Pimblett. I thought about it. I was afraid people would think, because I wanted to advertise this as like a realistic card, but I'm like, they were just yapping. There's a storyline there, and I don't imagine that Paddy would have any issues of moving up, and I don't imagine... It might take a little bit of talking, but Colby Covington's very capable of cutting down to 155, and Colby wants big fights now. I'm just saying, that was almost what I chose. But instead, I went with Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. Give Gene Silva a top contender now. I think he's ready for it. Look what he just did to Bryce Mitchell. Give him a top 5 guy. Arnold Allen isn't booked. Arnold Allen's available. And Arnold Allen, unfortunately, as much as I like Arnold Allen, the UFC is comfortable with him losing. And this is a nice stepping stone. I'm not saying that Gene Silva, I think he would beat Arnold Allen, but I'm not saying it's like a lock that he's going to beat Arnold Allen, but I can see the UFC being okay with this fight being put together. They want Gene Silva. He is very, very promotable right now. The fighting nerds are going crazy. I think this is a great fight to put on. I think this is a realistic matchup, and I would imagine they're going to try to get Gene Silva to the top of the division towards championship material. Plus, these two going at it would be a banger of a fight. Arnold Allen is no joke. He could bring the fight to Gene Silva. I just would imagine that Gene Silva would, get the one up on Arnold Allen. But let's continue on over to the featured fight. A fight that everybody has been talking about. A fight where it seems like the two fighters want to fight. And I would imagine that the UFC is going to get on that. Khamzat Shamayv, Kyle Braujo, interim title. This is what you need to make next. Dricus Duplexi is injured. Khamzat Shamayv was going to be the top contender. Kyle Braujo, and now that I'm thinking about it, you have 2 fighters in the middleweight division, both Khamzat Shamayv and Paulo Costa, that might pull out. Maybe we really, 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 really need a backup opponent. Nasruddin Imavov, call him up. Plus, I guess there was talks where Kyle Braujo was going to take on Nasruddin Imavov anyways. But this is a great fight. This is a great fight. Another fighting nerd on the card. All of the hype in the world right now. Khamzat Shamayv, one of the biggest stars in the UFC. Book this interim title. Winner takes on Dricus Duplexi. Let's go on to the next fight on the main card. I'd be shocked, guys, if they don't add this. With them struggling getting fights right now, it would not shock me at all. Weili Zhang, Vernandera. As boring as this fight's going to be, it's going to be the co-main event of International Fight Week. Depending on those odds, I might put money on it. Vernandera is the next contender. Weili Zhang is your typical co-main event for a big card like this. Make it UFC. We know they're going to do it. And again, I'm trying to make this as realistic as possible. Now let's talk about the main event. A lot of people talk about Shamayv. A lot of people talking about Kyle Braujo. A lot of people talking about Alex Pereira stepping back up. I believe the most realistic choice to be, and it's not my favorite choice, don't get me wrong, but again, we're trying to build the card that are mixed in with big fights and realistic fights. Alexander Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez 2. Would I like to see Movsar Evloev? Yes. Would I like Volkanovski to perhaps wait and maybe Yair Rodriguez pick up another win? Absolutely. Absolutely. But if they're struggling to get a fight, you know Volkanovski will say yes. Yair Rodriguez didn't really take any damage in his last fight, and you know Yair Rodriguez is going to jump on a title opportunity. I would imagine that the UFC would have little to no issues signing this fight as a main event. Alexander Volkanovski is a star. Alexander Volkanovski has all the hype back on him, and it would not shock me at all if the UFC actually did end up going with the main event. It's a great fight, don't get me wrong. I just think there's like more hype things that they could do, but this card would absolutely 100% deliver. Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez too. All of the fights that we just talked about, I think it's pretty realistic, to be honest with you guys. But the conversation about MMA doesn't have to stop there, because we also recently made a video talking about the most underappreciated fighters in the UFC, talking about Charles Jordane like we did earlier. He is on that list. I would love to have you guys over there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care.